Hi, my name is Kimmana and welcome to Holistic Nomads TV, where ancient wisdom and modern science can help you to have more clarity and energy in your life. And today we're looking at question and answer from the public. We're helping people to better understand their own bodies and what might be some ideal health actions to move towards. Today's question comes from Willis. They say, "Hi, I really love your channel. I have a couple of questions that I would really appreciate some answers to. I tend to be very irritable and I do wake up at around 1 to 3 every night. I remember Kimmana saying that was a Pitta anger problem, I believe. But I know my body type is Vata because it fits me to a T. Is my mind Pitta then? Because I do feel my thoughts are still kind of Vata, airy and flighty, but I do get anger sometimes. I'm very, very peaceful and kind, but sometimes when I feel bloated or just discomfort, I can be angry. I do wake up at that time and I can tell I'm holding on to something. How can I help that? I'm sorry that was wordy, but I'm having trouble describing it. I really appreciate you guys." No worries about the wordiness, Cameron. It really helps us. The more information you give, the more clear answer I can give back. So please remember that when people are writing these signs and symptoms, what your body's presenting is going to help me give a better answer for you. So first, let's look at that in relation to, it could be two different doshas. Waking between 1 and 3 a.m. could be Vata and it could be Pitta. And we're going to talk about the understanding of that from a few different traditional medicine philosophies. So if it's more Vata related, there's going to be more fears, worries, nervous system deficiency that's going on. If it's more Pitta related, it's going to be more heat driven, irritation, irritability and anger are a very similar emotion. Irritability is just a lesser extreme of anger. Irritation is the first thing that comes up, and then sometimes that anger gets presented outwards or sometimes it doesn't. So we look at what might be the main causative factors mentally and emotionally there from the dosha. If we look at the 1 to 3 a.m. period that I was talking about in a previous video, it's because I was talking about a Chinese medicine clock and its relationship to the liver time. 1 to 3 a.m. is our liver time. And during that period, the liver time, we're more likely to wake the body up if there has been some suppressed irritation, anger, impatience that's happened inside the body mind. It could also just be a very driven lifestyle. Liver, gallbladder, the wood energy in Chinese medicine, they call it, is related to where we have lots of goals, ambitions. We're rising up into life. It's this driven rising up, organizing, doing, and that could very much relate to Pitta as well. So that's why I've made that relationship. Liver's related to Pitta. These types of anger, irritability, impatience are also related to Pitta. So next thing I'd look at is the specific time. You've mentioned the whole window here of 1 to 3, yet are you generally waking up before 2 a.m. or after 2 a.m. And if that's the case, that's also give us another clue to, is it Vata or is it Pitta? If it's before 2 a.m., then it's more likely that it's Pitta that's involved. If it's after 2 a.m., then it's more likely that it's Vata that's involved. So that could be another clue to look at for yourself there. I also want to look at the modern day understandings of anatomy and physiology and what's happening here in the body so we can link that to the treatment. Cortisol has a natural cycle that increases and decreases over the day. And cortisol is a stress response hormone that happens when we get into activity, do more, go. And cortisol will hit its lowest point during the middle of the night, and then it will start its journey up again. It just starts to rise, usually around 2 a.m. So from that point, if the cortisol starts to rise and it's waking your body up, it means that the nervous system doesn't have enough strength to be able to keep the body asleep while cortisol is starting to rise up. So we've got to look at nervous system strength here, and it could be Vata or it could be Pitta that is aggravating the nervous system, yet it's most likely Vata. It could be a combination of both, but Vata tends to aggravate the nervous system the most. So there's a few things we can look at in relation to the treatment here. One is find out which dosha is presenting the most. If you're getting a lot of other signs and symptoms that are Vata related, it could be 70% Vata and 30% Pitta. And then find a little treatment balance that works with both of those. That means reducing intense, excessive goals for Pitta, trying to pack in too many things, and being a little bit detached towards the things that you wanted to achieve but aren't necessarily happening. that will generally cause the irritability there. And then with the Vata, looking at how we can really rest, rejuvenate, and nourish the body. If it is Vata Pitta related, there's a good chance this is testable in the nervous system, and then it's having its effect on what we call the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. That's the brain and the adrenaline axis, and we'll be able to test and see, is there high ratios of cortisol at different points throughout the day, and whether or not we really need to treat that with more than just some lifestyle therapies. You may need herbal support to be able to get that back onto balance for a period of time. If you're interested in that, you'll email us and we can prescribe and send out that test for you and get more clarity on test and see exactly what's happening in your nervous system. The second one would be working with emotional release. You said that you feel like you're holding on to something a little bit there. So if we are having some form of emotional tendencies, then I really recommend breath, sound, and movement. Figure out what sort of breath can really stimulate the emotion to move. Deep breathing might be the first thing. Sometimes some erratic breaths, push things out. The second one, sound. Yeah? What sort of sounds does your body want to make? If the emotion has a certain association, then anger is best balanced by screaming and laughter. Really move into sounds that stimulate and get that emotion moving out of the body. If it's fear, it's best balanced by long A-type exhale, surrendering, letting go. So think breath, sound, and our third one, movement. If you can ask yourself the question, where in my body is storing this emotion the most? And if you can get a clear answer on that, the hips, the thigh, in the chest, then that's the part of the body that you're going to need to move the most. So think about that breath, sound, and movement, where in the body. If you're unsure about where to move, pick the shoulders or the hips as focus areas and make sure you move a little bit of all the body. It's probably best to do this in a private space so you can really allow those emotions to release with breath, sound, and movement. And the third tip I'm going to give is some helps for the adrenal system. It's very likely that this waking up is related to adrenal stress inside the body. So the first one is to remove all stimulants from the diet, most specifically coffee, black tea, things with caffeine in them, yet also sugars and any other stimulants that you're aware of, take them out of the diet, guarana, those things. The second one is to look at herbs that can strengthen the nervous system and allow you to better use cortisol. Now, we don't want to just completely cut out some stress response hormones. They're not all bad, but we do want to stabilize them over the day. So ashwagandha can be great to stabilize that. Rhodiola can be wonderful to strengthen the kidney adrenal axis, and licorice can really help us to use a smaller amount of cortisol and make it last longer. And once the body gets used to taking that licorice for a period of weeks, then the body goes, oh, I don't need to make as much cortisol from the adrenal glands to produce the same degree of sustained high. So that licorice helps us to really conserve smaller amounts of cortisol, make it last for longer. That will then mean that your nervous system goes through a recovery period. You'll probably then be able to sleep through the mornings quite well. And the third tip I'd be looking at is being able to treat that either Vata or Pitta, depending on which one's aggravating the most, during its day cycle. So we have dosha time clock. I have another video that goes into dinacharya, the daily time clock. We'll link that up in the notes below. And it explains that the doshas peak at certain times of the day. So the peak times for Pitta is 10 to 2, both day and night. The peak times for Vata is 2 to 6, both day and night. So if you're waking in one of these night cycles, then the chances are we can treat it quite well during the day cycle. So then we'd look and go, okay, nervous system stress, how could we better balance that in the day cycle? A yoga nidra, it's a horizontal meditation where you have an audio that guides you through a process of meditation inside the body, could be really beneficial. Have a look at your energy levels through the day. If it's starting to drop within the Pitta time, middle of the day, the best time for the yoga nidra would be before lunch. lay down 15 minutes, 20 minutes yoga nidra before lunch, ideal, and it will affect the Pitta cycle at night and help to balance that. If it's the Vata cycle, then the best time is going to be about 2 hours after lunch or any time your energy levels are dropping in that afternoon Vata period. And to do the yoga nidra there, it will help to balance Vata at the night cycle too. I hope these tips have been useful for you. If they've been useful, please share them with others as well. If you've got any questions, then you can submit your questions on holisticnomads.com/ask. We'll be more than happy to help you and get those questions answered, give you some good steps to move forward with your health and healing program. Really hope to share with you again in the future. Until then, all the best. Hi and welcome. My name is Kimmana and welcome to... Don't need to do double welcome. Yeah.